I'd like to call this public hearing to order. I'd like to recognize and appreciate that we are holding this hearing on the traditional territories of the Tisha and Hoopachesset First Nations. I am Mike Sparrow. I am the director of our Cherry Creek electoral area. I'd like to introduce you to the ACRD planning staff. Missed that one. Alex Dyer, planning manager. Carrie Waugh, planning assistant. And Amy Wilson, GIS analyst. Is that you back there? Thank you. The hearing is being held in the ACRD boardroom electronically by Zoom. It is being recorded and is live streamed on the ACRD website. Would staff please provide direction and instructions on how to participate in this hearing?
Happy to. First of all, thank you all for joining us both online. We do have one member online, I believe, and in the boardroom. If you are watching the live stream on the website right now and you wish to participate in the meeting, the instructions on how to connect can be found in the Zoom meeting invite document that's linked on the website. I just want to quickly start off by highlighting some of the features in Zoom and then also in the boardroom here that will help you participate. If you are participating online, you have the option to mute your audio or turn on or off your video to allow us to see you and hear you. We ask that you keep your audio muted unless you are going to speak in order just to reduce the background noise. There will be an opportunity to speak after staff introduce the application and the applicants have an opportunity to present. So when the chair calls upon members of the public to comment on the bylaw, we ask that you either put your hand up or call out that you would like to speak. Once you've been recognized by the chair, we ask that you state your name and your address, followed by your comments or questions. If you're at the board table here, you'll use the microphone system in front of you. There's a little silver button on the microphone that will activate your microphone and then zoom the camera in on you so those online can see you. If you're online and you'd like to unmute yourself, you can do that once you've been recognized. Either put your hand up in Zoom, or if you don't see it, unmute yourself and call out that you'd like to speak. Also highlight when using Zoom, there is a chat feature. Access from the controls on your screen. If you'd like to make a comment at any time, please feel free to do so. They will be addressed by staff during the public hearing, so feel free to add any comments in there if you think of something as we move along. These comments will be brought forward when the chair asks for public comments. There will also be a final opportunity for everyone, both in the boardroom and on Zoom, prior to the end of the public hearing to ask any final questions and make any final comments on the application. Thank you.
Sorry, what? The subject of this hearing is bylaw P1484. This bylaw is applicable to 5447 Maybell Road and is necessary to facilitate subdivision to a 0.24 hectare minimum lot size. If you have any questions or comments about other related topic, I ask you to contact regional district staff after this hearing has been terminated. Would staff now read out the notice of the public hearing?
Okay, a public hearing for proposed development in electoral area F, Cherry Creek, has been scheduled to consider application RF 23006, bylaw P1484. Hearing details when Thursday, February 15th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Where electronic, call-in or in-person attendance at the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Office, located at 3008 Fifth Avenue, Port Alberni, BC. Property owner Brett Von Brendel. The subject property is located at 5447 Maybell Road and is legally described as Lot D, District Lot 135, Alberni District Plan BIP 58096. Bylaw P1484 is necessary to rezone the subject property to facilitate subdivision to a 0.24 hectare minimum lot size. Bylaw P1484 is a zoning atlas amendment bylaw to rezone the subject property from small holdings A1 district to acreage residential RA3 district. The public hearing will be held by the director for electoral area F, the alternate director, or the chairperson of the region board. The board resolution making this delegation, copies of bylaw P1484 and all relevant background documents are available for review at the ACRD office and available as supplementary information on the ACRD website at www.acrd.bc.ca/events/15-2-2024. Planning staff are available to answer questions in person, through email, or by phone during regular office hours, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday from January 30th, 2024 to February 15th, 2024, excluding statutory holidays. Now, anyone who feels their interest in property will be affected by the proposed bylaws will be afforded a reasonable opportunity to be heard. You can participate in the public hearing in person, electronically, or by phone. Full instructions to do so can be provided by contacting planning staff. In addition, participation instructions are included in the supplementary information available on the website at www.acrd.bc.ca/event/15-2-2024. Again, the public hearing will be conducted from the ACRD office located at 3008 Fifth Avenue, Port Alberni, BC. Written correspondence can be submitted to the ACRD by hard copy delivered to the ACRD office in person or by mail, or an email sent to publichearings@acrd.bc.ca. Email submissions will only be considered received if receipt confirmation is provided by ACRD staff. Written submissions can be provided at the public hearing or in advance. Written submissions provided in advance of the public hearing must be received no earlier than 8 a.m. on January 30th, 2024, and no later than 4 p.m. on February 15th, 2024. Submissions provided ahead of the public hearing outside of these parameters will not be included. If you have any questions, planning staff are available to provide assistance during regular office hours, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Monday through Friday, excluding statutory holidays. We can be reached at Alberni Clackawanna Regional District Planning Department, 3008 Fifth Avenue, Port Alberni, BC. Thank you.
The purpose of this public hearing is to receive input, written or verbal, from any person who believes that their interest in the property is affected by the bylaw. Members of the public will be allotted 5 minutes to provide their comments for the first time. We will hear everyone wishing to speak for the first time before allowing second comments. Each time a member of the public provides their comments, they'll be allotted a 5-minute maximum. A person can come to the speaker's podium as many times as required, providing that this person is providing information not previously presented at the public hearing. The board of directors will receive full minutes of this hearing before voting on this bylaw. Staff are taking minutes that summarize the issues raised. Please speak clearly and ensure accuracy. So the staff, please introduce the proposal.
Happy to, thank you. And bear with me a minute. I'll read out a bit, but you will have a chance to talk. So you don't have to just sit here and listen to me. I'll begin with the agency referral responses that we have received. Those responses received either noted that their interests were unaffected or recommended that bylaws be approved subject to the conditions outlined in those responses. I'll just highlight the response from the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, which highlighted that the existing culvert located in front of the proposed panhandle access will likely need to be replaced at the subdivision stage. Now, copies of those agency referral responses are available for public review, both linked on our website if you're online, or with hard copies available at the back of the boardroom here. They will form part of the public hearing report considered by the board as well. There were 33 letters of correspondence that were received during the public notice period. 31 of those letters express either general support for the rezoning or express general support for the previous development proposal on this property. 2 of the letters that were received express general opposition to the rezoning. Included with the letters expressing support for the application, which were submitted by the applicant, there is a letter from the property owner detailing their development proposal, and a letter from the Cherry Creek Waterworks District dated October 12th, 2023, that expresses no opposition to the addition of 2 new residential services at the property, provided that all the necessary infrastructure enhancements will be the responsibility of the applicant. I'll also highlight there were an additional 17 letters that were received by the ACRD board at their October 11th, 2023 meeting, which expressed general opposition to the rezoning. These letters are included with the development proposal information packages at the back of the room and linked on the website, and these letters have been received by the board already in October. Copies of all the letters are available for public review, again linked on the website, with hard copies available here in the boardroom, and the letters received during the notice period will be included as part of the public hearing report that will be considered by the board. So the applicant's proposal, the property owner has applied to rezone their property. It's about 1.15 hectares or 2.85 acres of property, and they applied to rezone it from small holdings A1 district to acreage residential RA3 district, as you heard, in order to subdivide their intended 3-lot subdivision. The RA3 district zoning would support a 0.24 hectare or 0.6 of an acre minimum lot size for subdivision. The conceptual subdivision plan that they've provided, it's included in the development proposal information, indicates there would be 2 about 0.34 of a hectare vacant lots on the east half of the property that would be accessed by panhandle from Maybell Road, and then a plus or minus 0.47 of a hectare lot containing the existing house It is noted that with the 0.24 hectare minimum and the lot size being 1.15, that math adds up to it could potentially facilitate subdivision of up to 4 lots if access to each lot could be provided. So bylaw P1484 that you're seeing here tonight was given first reading by the board on October 11th, 2023, at which time this public hearing was delegated to be held by the area director. While the rezoning application is consistent with the residential use designation in the OCP, already a public hearing is being held for this bylaw as it was given first reading prior to the adoption of the provincial amendments to the Local Government Act. As a bit of background, there was a previous rezoning application on this property that was considered by the board in 2022 and 23 that would have rezoned the property to allow for a 1-lot subdivision and up to 4 rental cabins. After receiving a public hearing report on April 12th of last year for the zoning amendment and the OCP amendment bylaws, the rezoning bylaw that would have allowed the rental cabins was not supported by the board at that time. The board did adopt bylaw P1454 on May 24th, 2023, which redesignated the property from rural use to residential use in the Cherry Creek OCP. Subsequently, the applicant submitted a new rezoning application to rezone the property to RA3 district to facilitate the proposed 3-lot subdivision. And then the last thing I'll highlight is the applicants have submitted an assessment from a registered on-site wastewater practitioner from June 14th, 2023, that considers the 3-lot subdivision proposal and confirmed that the soil profile identified at the site demonstrates that the subdivision will meet the island health standards for subdivision. That assessment, again, is available for public review, linked on the website if you're online, with hard copies available in the boardroom here, and that assessment will form part of the public hearing report considered by the board as well. And that's it for me. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Would the applicant like to add anything?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hello, Brett Von Brendel, 5447 Maybell. I just want to start off by saying that I revamped my rezoning application after the last public hearing. You guys didn't want the cabin, so I said, okay, my neighbors collectively don't want it, but I also have most of you on public record saying that you are okay with the subdivision. So it's very weird to see you guys here and opposing my subdivision when I have you on public record in public minutes saying you're okay with the subdivision. So after a year and a half of redoing my rezoning and my plans for the property. So I just want to address one of the chain letters received on the October, I think it was, before the last reading. It was one of the 17 chain letters. I just want to address some points in here because I feel like most of them are moot. But I went and I got the letter from Cherry Creek Water. So this complaint about the stress on the water system is actually unfounded and unjustifiable. So you heard it right from you could have the paper right in front of you. So it's not going to affect any of your guys' water having 2 more lots. And if everybody thought that when I bought this place 12 years ago, there wouldn't be 7, 8 more lots on there, which some of you reside on right now. So you guys putting in new lots has not affected my water at all. So that point is ridiculous. But anyway, and as far as the traffic goes, putting 2 new lots again, since the new 6, 7 lots on Maybell, since I've been there in the 12 years, I haven't seen an influx crazy of traffic. It's always been busy because at the end of Maybell Road, there is a trailhead and people go and walk and park there. So putting 2 more lots on Maybell Road is negligible in traffic. As far as the increase in crime, because it says here that there's been an increase in crime in Cherry Creek community. And if I add 2 new lots on that, we shouldn't add 2 new lots on until the police address this problem. Well, I tell you what, I don't lock my doors. I don't do anything. I've never had a problem with anybody stealing anything. My neighbor watches out for me. I watch out for him, and I watch out for Belle and everybody else around me. If I see something weird, whether we get along or we share the same views, I'll let you know because that's what a neighbor does. So I'm not worried about any crime increase bringing 2 new families to Maybell Road. So anyway, I'm just trying to subdivide So I can put more money into my property instead of just paying for my property and better take care of my family. And I just don't think that there's any justifiable opposition to this other than you guys just want to keep your acreage. But when I bought the place 12 years ago, I tried to subdivide right away. And when I came to ACRD, they said you can't subdivide anything less than 2-acre lots. Well, there's numerous 1-acre lots now since I've lived there. So, and no, but not one of you guys complained about it then. Some of you live on that 1-acre lot. So, I don't know why it's such a big problem for me to subdivide when there's already been multiple subdivisions since I've been there. So I hope that the board considers this, considering most of the opposition has already publicly stated that they are okay with the subdivision. And yeah, and well, and I'd like to see it passed. So I've been through the ringer here. It's been about 3 years, and I've revamped my whole plan, and based on the last public hearing, and I don't see a reason why to deny this. So thanks.
We will now hear from members of the public. Please wait until you've been recognized and state your name and address from the beginning. All participants are asked to abide by the social accountability and respectful language guidelines included in your sign-in sheet. Anyone who incites harm towards others or participants will be asked to leave at discretion of the chair. And you can please address to the chair, please, when you want to start speaking. So.
I'm Helga Hustvedt, and I live directly behind you. Okay, there we go. On 5450 Dunrock Avenue. I lived there since 1985. I have seen changes. They all have been for very good reasons. I mean, we had no problems with the neighbors. Most of us have 2 acres or more with one family dwelling on it. Now, you want to divide it in 3. And as far as I understand, RA3 is one family dwelling plus accessory buildings. Now, does that mean another home, another small home on it, or a barn, or what does that mean? Accessory building.
I'd be happy to speak to that one, Helga. Thank you. The accessory building means an outbuilding that's not a dwelling. So a barn, a garage, a woodshed, that sort of thing. The ACRD zoning bylaw currently only allows a secondary dwelling on a lot that's a minimum 1-acre lot size. So if you have a 1-acre lot right now, you're allowed your single family dwelling and your accessory dwelling unit, which is a smaller secondary home. But if the lots, under the current zoning, if the lots are created smaller than 1 acre, they would only be allowed the outbuilding without an additional well.
The other thing I'm concerned of, there's a little stream. We all have water through our properties. If you put more houses on, how is that sewer system going to work without contaminating that little stream? Sure.
Okay. The very back lot that's has the setback from the log tree trail. The septic field has been marked by Glenn Gibson and the wastewater management on the other side. The stream, are you talking about the stream that runs in between mine and Jody's yard? In the back? Yeah. So the septic field will be on the other side. Yeah.
And just further to that, the on-site septic disposal is regulated by Island Health. So Island Health has the authority to, they certify the registered on-site wastewater practitioners, but also if there's an issue with a septic field, they will respond to those issues and issue orders to remediate if need be. And we have seen that here in the Alberta Valley in the past.
Ken Wilson, I have a question for you. Smallest acreage in that area right now is 1 acre, correct?
0.9 of an acre, I think, in that immediate area. I don't know about the on the the Dundalk side, and maybe some lots that are different sides on that.
No. So point nine is smallest, right? Is that correct?
All the way down.
I mean, I
No,
don't,
is that correct?
I don't know that for sure. I mean, there are some smaller lots in the area.
I'm talking about conforming with our. is
So
that correct?
on Maybell,
On Dundalk and Maybell. And Mozart.
so on Maybell for sure, it's 0.9 an acre would be the smallest one on the east side of Maybell.
So now you want to go down to 0.6. And does that not open a door for the whole 0.6 acre? Shit, you know what I mean? I mean, really, isn't that what it opens the door to? If I'm correct,
So I
on
mean,
0.6, you mean all these other people with these narrow lots, are they gonna be able to, if this is accepted, open a door for 0.6 acres? Conforming with the area? Is that what you're telling me?
yeah, no, I'd be happy to answer
Well,
that.
is it or isn't it?
So
I'm asking a question, 0.9.
I'm trying to answer your question. Please let me answer your question.
Okay, stop and let him answer.
Yeah.
Your question was 0.6 acres and tell you the OCP and why it is.
So the residential use designation in the OCP supports rezoning down to that 0.6 of an acre. The residential use designation encompasses all of the properties along Dundalk and some of the properties on Maybell, not this one, or sorry, not the neighboring ones. This one was amended. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that the zoning has changed. So anybody on that stretch is welcome to make a rezoning application to reduce the minimum lot size and to change the zone, and that would go through a process at the board table, and
So-
the board would have discretion on whether to approve or deny any application like that.
In this last meeting that we had, there was nothing said about this being a residential lot. This was done after that, after everybody talked. Now it's residential. Is that correct?
No, so the last
When did that come about?
at the last public hearing, there were two bylaws that were considered. There's a bylaw to redesignate from rural use to residential use, and then there's another bylaw to rezone the property to the cottage residential zone to allow for the rental cottages. What the board did subsequent to that public hearing, they received the public hearing report minutes. They proceeded with second and third readings of that the OCP amendment bylaw, and they resolved to not proceed with the rezoning amendment. And then a subsequent meeting in May 2023, they adopted the official community plan amendment, which redesignated the lot from rural use to residential use. That was considered in the public hearing at the last.
Are all the neighbors, Maybell and all that stuff, were they aware of this fact? Of this residential designation?
I mean, it was discussed at public hearing, and it was adopted at a public meeting that the board held.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Heather Wilson, 5585 Maybell, formerly of Albert Street, right around the corner, where it was ALR, and we wanted to leave it in the ALR and divide the 5 acres in half, since it had access on more and an access on it. This is relevant because we were spending money, like Mr. Van Brendel, trying to get area to do a rancher, and we were basically spent thousands of dollars, then told, really, no, you're never going to get it divided, even though you want to leave it in the ALR, even though you've got access on both sides, driveways on both ends from different parts of the community. So don't even bother, it won't get past the regional, won't go to the ALR. So we had to make a different plan to get a rancher, which is why we chose the 5 acres on the bottom. But we wanted to conform, so we made it 1 and 2 with no panhandle lots coming out, with access on all the roads. We had all the road frontage. We did that so that none of the neighbors would have any problems. And there was nobody at the meetings, nobody complaining, nobody saying anything. And since then, everybody has been fine with it. I'm only bringing this up because I know some of the comments are being directed at our subdivision. And the only reason I'm not in favor, I understand the things that the applicant's going through, believe me, I really do. But the problem is that if this goes through with this panhandle and this lot, you could end up with 4 rental properties on here, or 3 or 2 or whatever, because you can have the house there, you can have the house on the back, you can have the middle piece. If it is a new house, you can have an auxiliary dwelling, and it doesn't have to be big. You could end up with the same kind of thing as the 3 cabins if you wanted. I'm not saying he's going to do that or anything, but I'm just saying there's no, you could have monthly rentals on anything you wanted on the property. You've got this big, long panhandle lot. Probably if the neighbors are fine with that up there, it probably will work, but the problem is all these lots are this long and skinny. Any subdivision almost, I'm not sure about some on Dundalk. For sure, all the ones on Maybell are long and skinny all the way to the back with not enough frontage, so it'd be the same look as this, all the way up and down both roads in an area where there's 0.9 to 5 to farming, all sorts, ALR, some not ALR. And you could end it up with beside Helga, beside us, and if it was beside us, this road here, the panhandle, would be where it is right beside our post, our pole, right beside our house, so you could have it coming down there. And and you could have 2 rentals back there behind our neighbor's house if they wanted to, or developers, or whatever is going to be going on down there. It could be all through the area. And I just, when I put it, I read the OCP, Official Community Plan, and one of the first things is in my letter is under the goals of the community, I think it's 8.11 or something, I know it's in the letter, it says the main concern is to keep the community with a rural atmosphere, rural feel as it was when the plan was drawn up. And I don't consider this keeping it like that, because it's basically right now all small acreages, some farming, some ALR. Across the street from us is ALR. Around the corner we were in ALR. And I don't have a problem with this per se, except I really don't like those panhandle lots coming onto the roadways, but all up and down both sides of the street, which could potentially happen down the road. And there's no things about renting or not renting, home owning, and then having that a rental. You could be off-site having them all rentals. I mean, don't know what the applicant's plan is, if he's going to keep that, build a house, or do that, have a building, have another house on the end, or in the long run, I don't know. But I'm just saying for the whole area, I can't see this over and over and over being a good thing. And I know for sure it wouldn't be a good thing beside me, because it would go, even though I have 2 acres, the panhandle lot would go right past my house, the bedrooms, because it's so tight there. And I don't, how close is this panhandle to the property line of Mrs. Hyder's house? Like, how wide is it, and does it go right up to the lot line?
So the layout of the subdivision is finalized at the subdivision
Yes.
stage when they make the
Right.
application to the Ministry of Transportation. So there is no layout right now. We have seen panhandles that range between 6 meters wide and 10 meters wide. So I would
Also, there's
expect
no
it'd be
no
between
direct
6 and 10
between 6 and 10 meters,
meters wide.
and that's how many feet? Not a meter person.
20 to 30.
Okay, so that, and how wide is a normal driveway? It's at least that big, right? So it's not small necessarily. So 2 cars could pass on it. Okay. All right. So, but the outside of it can go, it's just like a part of this lot. So it could be right on the borderline, right? I mean, there's nothing, it's not like a house, we have to have setbacks and all that stuff.
So there would be
So-
setbacks from that lot line, but yes, it
A
would be
little.
a part of the lot for sure.
What would,
Okay, so that's my only issue, is because if I close my eyes, I try and visualize, like especially Dundalk and Maydell in particular, because some of it's ALR across the street and some of it's, that to me, our community is not Stockton and not over by Haggard subdivision, not up on Trevor Road, not in, it's the people that are affected by this and the people that would be affected by the RA3 zoning, not this particular plan, is what could be there. And once the zoning is there, if it's given to here, there's no, we couldn't then go and say, oh, well, we don't want you to put this one here, that there'd be no complaining or reason, because you've already said, okay, this is gonna happen, this is okay for this whole area. And that's my concern, is the future, and so that's why I'm wondering about, and I'm also wondering about what the general plan is, if the applicant has a plan for what he wants to put on here, or, I heard talk about, be nice to have another 2 families given an opportunity to buy property or something. I'm not sure. Then I've heard he maybe wants to build himself a house to go, beside the barn and that, and have that centerpiece for himself, which you could have an auxiliary dwelling. And then, I don't know, what about the back lot or sell the front lot? I mean, I'm just a little curious, but he doesn't have to answer that question, that's for sure. But I'm just saying, I can't see a community full of this in between where we are with this type of land, where you'd have to have panhandles, and how many lots, it's really longer than his piece. How many lots are you going to have able to come out on the panhandle? Like, I'm quite confused about everything. That's it. Somebody else I want to talk first. Hi, I'm Lynn Krupek, 5570 Dundalk. I have just some concerns about the stream that runs through that Elder was talking about, because I was reading in here, it talks about the development, like the environmental development permit would have to be applied for, but not to subdivision stage. But because that stream does go through the north side, is it the north side? There would be a 15-meter riparian area. So that doesn't really leave you very much room for buildings or anything, because then you have the panhandle on the other side. So that's what I was just wondering how that would work.
The panhandle is only going up to the southeast part of the property. It's not going right up to past the log turn trail. They can, whoever buys it can do their driveway up to their building there. And there's 0.6 of an acre. There's plenty of room to put a building and not affect the north side of the stream, because the stream is actually right on the border of mine and Jody's property. So it's right on the property edge anyway, and you'd have a setback from that anyway, so.
I have a question for you, I guess. Oh, sorry.
Anybody in the back like to speak? Anybody? No? 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 No more first time? Okay.
Ken Wilson, I just have a question. What is the maximum number of dwellings that can be put on this thing in the end?
So if,
Obviously, somebody should know that question.
Yep.
Don't answer.
if it's,
How
so if it's subdivided as they intend, which is the 2.34 hectare lots, each of those lots would have 1 dwelling on it under the current zoning. Because it would need to be 0.4 of a hectare to allow for the single family dwelling and the accessory dwelling. If any of the lots are over 0.4 of a hectare, which their other one that would contain the existing house was anticipated to be just over 0.4 of a hectare, I believe, it would be allowed to have an accessory dwelling unit. So if they subdivide it under the way they do it, it'd be 3 single family dwellings and 1 accessory dwelling under the current zone.
So 4 dwellings for 4 families.
That's it. It could potentially be that. Yeah. So the accessory dwelling units are limited to 90 square meters, about 968 square feet as well. So,
Well, he was mentioning before, we're in favor of subdivision. Yeah, but not 0.6 of an acre. No. No. No, not in favor of 0.6 of an acre. Not, 1 acre is fine, 0.9 is fine. And 4 acres on, 4 dwellings on that piece of property. How many people are gonna be there? How many cars are gonna be there? When it's done, nothing can be said about it, right? And the thing is this can carry on all down the road, carry on Dundalk. It does not conform with the place anywhere around there. And I've looked at some of the people that were in favor of this. They are never, ever gonna be affected by this plan, ever. So yeah, I can go around town, I can pick up 100 people that are totally against this. But it wouldn't affect them either. So we're not going apples to apples. Should be the people on the street, the people in the other areas, they're the ones that should be concerned. And that's who we should be sort of listening to, not somebody in the ALR or those different places like that. But as far as the subdivision, fine, but not 4 on a small piece of property like that.
No, thank you. You had your hand up back there, first time speaker. Could you go up to the podium, please, and push that little red, what's the little red?
Darcy Nelson, 5212 Midvale Road. You say that you're allowed a house on the building with an accessory building. Does that accessory building allow any living quarters above it?
Only if it's on a 1 acre lot or like 0.4 of a hectare or 1 acre. So
Yes.
it would be you'd be allowed up to 90 square meters within that shop, either above or attached to, but the minimum threshold for that right now in the zoning is 1 acre.
Okay, so on a 0.6 acre, he's not allowed an accessory building with living quarters. So,
That's correct, yeah.
thank you.
Go ahead, first time speaker.
Go ahead.
Access to this property now,
Name, please.
not behind her. I live right there,
Where?
Midvale Road. Yeah, so anyhow, if these lots are quite narrow, I got one right beside it. And if somebody puts a driveway in, to get to the back, you're gonna have to sacrifice part of that lot. They're quite narrow now. If this is done, make a subdivision on the back, now, is that gonna be access to the public, or is it gonna be a private road?
They would be private roads, yeah.
They would, eh?
So they would be a part of that lot that.
So
is-
you'd have
it's creating access.
control, would you?
The owner would have.
Okay. Okay, interesting.
Is there anybody else who wants to speak on this side? Okay,
I was there at the last meeting as well, and I cannot remember that we all agreed that the rezoning is okay. I can't remember that. I was here and I've never heard anyone say, yeah, we're okay in dividing it, but we don't want a building on it. Well, that would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? So why would we agree if you don't want to have buildings in the first place on it? Because our concern, the whole neighborhood is concerned, if this goes through, why can't the rest of us do it? And this is not why we moved there in the first place. We like our 2, 3, 4 acres, whatever we have, rural, and it's an older demographic there. And we want our peace, that's all.
I think I'll speak on, last time you had the public hearing, I don't think you were opposed to him parceling of a piece where his mother was gonna build back there. One of your mothers. Yeah, it's still the same size, doesn't matter who builds back there. And then, but you were opposed to the cottages in the secondary part. But if I remember rightly, and we can go back to the minutes, you said if you want to build back there for your mother who may or may not live there, because you said she may or may not live there, you weren't opposed to that part of it. If I remember rightly, and I will look back at the minutes, we'll get them up so we can do that. So that's what came out of the last meeting. So, is there anybody else who'd like to speak for the first time? Would you like to respond?
There was a lot of points there, but I tried to form it down. So the panhandle is just like anybody else's driveway coming out onto Maybell. It literally would be no different than my driveway, your driveway, anybody else's driveway. The only difference is it goes up the side of my property all the way to the back properties and accesses them. So there's no difference in putting a panhandle, and I'm the one sacrificing my property to put the panhandle. So it's really of nobody's concern how wide the panhandle is or anything, because it's my property that's taking it up. I'm not encroaching on Bell's. I won't be. You're not allowed to. You can't build a panhandle and encroach on somebody else's property. And I wouldn't do that anyway. You guys, at the last public hearing, everybody was very opposed to the cabins because of the nightly rental thing and the amount of different people coming in and out. And I took that into account when it got denied, and I took the other part that everybody said they were okay with the subdivision, and I ran with that. So it's a bit weird to just see all this opposition for the subdivision when you could literally go on the ACRT website and listen to all of you saying that you're okay with subdivision. And to drop from a 0.9 acre to a 0.6 is literally, oh well, like it's not even a big deal. I don't understand if it. Oh, sorry, I'm just looking around. If to go from 0.9 to 0.6 is not even worth an argument in my opinion. If you've already allowed 0.9 and the OCP allows a 0.6, I don't see a big problem with it at all. And to be perfectly honest, the province, because of the housing crisis, has stepped in and already overruled a lot of the second public hearings for anything that adheres to the OCP. And if it wasn't for my first reading in October, November, I would already have this approved. So the only reason I'm doing the second public hearing is because I already had the first reading. And as far as the rural character of the area, it has great, think of how many trees have been cut down even on just your son's lot. So I'm sorry to address you, but in the 12 years I've been here, Ken Wilson Jr. has cut down more trees than anybody. So, and he's developed land and he did a good job. I'm not saying he didn't do a good job. I'm okay with it. That's his property. If he wants to cut the trees down, build a house, cool. But I'm not adding rental properties. I'm creating 2.6 acre lots to potentially, whoever buys it, whatever they're going to do with it, to build a house for them and their family. And the 0.6 acre lots don't allow a second dwelling for them. So you're not going to get, if I had 3 acres or 3.5 acres and I did 3 1 acre lots and they could have another cottage home or whatever, then sure, you're getting up there with a lot of properties and a lot of stuff. But if it's approved by Island Health and Glenn Gibson and all that for wastewater management, it can't be that big of a deal. So I'll rescind unless anybody has any other questions. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that. It was just staff like to respond? Or you? No? Any? Okay, nobody else wants to speak? One more speaker on this side over here, okay?
No, I'm still not clear on the, it's the width of the lots where I have my issues, because that makes it, the neighbors are on top of the neighbors, because they're so long and skinny. It's not meant for subdivision. They're landlocked. The reason why you have to have that panhandle is because not just for that back lot, but for this second middle lot. But I'm confused because I don't know if it's wrong to ask what the plan is for the subdivision, because I was originally told wanted to build, a new house there for their family. And I'm presuming maybe at some point, we have a carriage house, because as far as I can figure, it says 2 acres here, but 4.812. But if you add them up, it must be closer to 1.4 in my estimation, which maybe that could be divided at some point. I don't know if nobody built. If somebody bought it, and is it going to be for sale, or is it going to be for private use, or is it wrong to want to know that? I was going to stop up there, but I didn't get up walking that far. because I wanted to know exactly what the plan was. And the only reason I'm asking about this, if there's a general panhandle width to come out on the road, is because this could happen right beside me, only on the opposite, and the driveway would go right past the bedrooms. And the post is right there by the secondary driveway to my neighbor. And, and it could go right down there, and you could have two whatevers or three, I don't know, going on, happening in there. And so this is my problem, because it's gonna go right past my bedrooms, pretty much like 20, 30 feet, cars would be going in and out. So it could happen to me, it could happen over in Dundalk, it could happen anywhere. That's why we're opposed, and I don't know, I understand the applicant's point of view, but he doesn't seem to be understanding our point of view. We only did it because we had all the road frontage and it made sense, and Tim Hendy came out and said this is the most perfect, well-organized, well-thought-out subdivision that I've been to in a long, long time. And he said what he wanted, and it was done. And so these are not considered perfect. But I just want to know, are you going to stay in the house, build a new house, or sell everything and so you have more money to go on? Because the barns and things are on the pros lot too. So I'm thinking, well, that would be a good place to build a house and put a carriage home and then live there, maybe, I don't know, sell the front and do something with the back. But I'm just wondering, what is the plan? Or is it all going to be rentals? And could there be 4 rentals? Or I'm not understanding the proposition. And that's what I'd like to understand. And I don't know whether he's allowed to talk to me or not.
So I can briefly run down what the regional district is able to do, and we regulate the use of a property. So the permitted uses on a lot, the permitted densities on a lot. We don't regulate the user, right? So we can't say that it has to be sold to a certain person or it has to be rented to a certain person. If it's a dwelling, it can be rented as a long-term residence, and that's permitted in the zoning. It could be bought by a family and they can live there. And that's not, as a general rule of the regional district, we're dealing with the density and the use of the land and not the use.
Okay, so you can apply for RA3 and have an idea, or just like you want to do 3 lots or this lot, but you don't really have to do any of that necessarily. You can apply for it, and if you get it, then you do what's within the laws, more or less. Okay, so it could be anything, except we already know where the first house is and all that. But it could be, that lot line could be somewhere different, right? And this could be somewhat bigger, and this could be smaller. So we have no idea what's really going on or might go on. But potentially there could be 3 or 4 residences on there, I guess. So, no, and that's what I thought, maybe you have to have some idea what's going on when you apply, but you don't. Okay. All right.
Thank you. I think you're governed by the minimum lot size in the OCP, right? You can't. So and it is their land, just like you have your land, and you do the same thing with yours. It's legally allowed. So that's what it is. Any more? Good. One from the applicant. I just want. Sure.
Brett Von Brendel. So I just want to clear it up because she kind of Heather here made it seem like me putting a panhandle is going to have people driving up my driveway and overlooking her property. We're separated. I just want to clear it up, just for the record. Because Nobby's on one side of you and your son's on the other, and you guys are both opposed to what I'm doing. So I don't think you have to worry about somebody putting the panhandle up watching you guys shower or whatever. So, oh, sorry. So I don't think there's a big deal of me putting the panhandle as far as her property goes. It doesn't affect her property at all. And realistically, the subdivision of my property, if they're talking about, people in Traves Road and stuff, it doesn't affect them because I got some support from my other friends around the Cherry Creek community. That's why they're allowed to submit it, is because they're from Cherry Creek and the Cherry Creek community has a say in all of it. So if you're saying, oh, only the people on the road, well, really, realistically, the only people that my subdivision affects are my immediate neighbors, which is Belle Hyder, this fine lady here, Jody, and the Kaylors across the street. So really, it doesn't directly affect anybody else. So, and I don't see any of them there opposing it. So, okay, thanks.
Is there any more speakers before we get back to the last one and then? Okay,
Somebody, Ken Wilson, Master Chairman and whatever. Yeah, this does affect me. Oh, yeah, so this does affect me. My neighbor is gonna be selling his property. And so on. So this directly affects me. Because if this door is open, Nobby's door can be open to do the same thing. So it does affect me. And it'll also affect anybody else on that street that happens to sell their property as they're getting older. Someone comes on and says, hey, I can put a bunch of lots back here. And yes, we all know a panhandle is just a driveway. It's going to affect us and it's going to affect other people. And Dundalk, they can do the same thing and it will affect them as well. So what he does down there directly affects what happens to me, whoever buys Nobby's, Paul, the East Indian fella, and so on down the road. It will affect them in the future. So that's what's going to happen. And four dwellings on that piece of small property is ridiculous.
well, thank you for that. Any more? You want staff want to say anything on this behalf of this before I start closing?
I have nothing else to add other than if you are online, we do have one member online, and we've allowed you to speak, so you're welcome to if you like. We're not trying to bully you into doing it, but I just want to highlight that if you'd like to say anything, just unmute yourself and call out. Otherwise, yeah, we'd be happy to ask if anybody else in the boardroom has anything else to say.
So please be advised, the members of the board of directors cannot receive new information related to this bylaw between the end of this hearing and the final decision of the bylaw. If any board member does so, the hearing could be invalidated and would be held again. With that in mind, does anyone have any final comments? Go. Yes.
It's not really a comment. I would just like to, I wrote a letter, but it was late because I didn't get information till yesterday, so I couldn't really write a letter. And I would just like that when it comes up for review, that the board members will have a chance to read the letter.
The letter is included in the package.
Yeah.
And yes, it'll be included. Thank you.
And the letters stopped at 4 o'clock today, correct? So there wouldn't be allowed in if it came after that. So with that in mind, does anyone have any final comments? Okay. I call for the first time for any further representation on the bylaws. I call for the second time for any further representation on the bylaws. I call for the third time for any further representation on the bylaws. Okay. Hearing no further comments, I declare this meeting terminated.